gives me great pleasure to welcome you to Margra Chef's Tasting event. The purpose of the event today is really to learn a little bit more about the lamb, its attributes, the story about the lamb, but really the proof is in the pudding. To tell you a lot more about the lamb, I have Nick here from Paradigm Foods.
We are an Australian-based, Australian-owned beef and lamb producer. Our newest brand, which we're very excited about, is Margra Lamb. Until we met a family called the Gilmores, and specifically Graham Gilmore. The story goes he was travelling overseas and saw a haired sheep and thought, you know what, that's the future of the Australian sheep industry. Something with low cost, no shearing required, but with a focus on meat. And so him and his brother Martin spent 10 years consolidating 4 different lamb or sheep breeds, and they developed the Australian white lamb breed. They wanted something which didn't have any wool, so no shearing required. So from an animal welfare perspective, that's also important. Much lower cost, good feed to weight gain conversion as well, obviously trying to focus on meat. And as a result of not having any wool either, there's no tail docking required, i.e. the removal of the tail, which again from an animal welfare perspective is incredibly important. You may be asking, that's all great, but what does that mean from a chef perspective? Any animal that has wool, they have what's called lanolin, which is like a naturally occurring wax-like substance, which is found on wool and sheep. That's what gives lamb that's very gamey, lamby sort of flavour, which a lot of customers don't necessarily like. These are haired sheep, and therefore you don't necessarily get that strong flavour. It's a lot more palatable, it's a much more delicate flavour, and we're finding that really resonating with customers, particularly within Asia, who don't necessarily like that strong lamb flavour. The second thing, which I think is really important as well, is the fact that these are a single breed. What you're buying with Margra is a single breed with genetics that trace back to the original stud, Paddock, where the lamb breed itself was developed in Oberon, New South Wales. Now the last thing which I think is really key is the fat. Now this lamb fat found in Margra lambs, it melts at about 6 to 8 degrees less than conventional lamb. In fact, when you hold it in your hands, it'll actually melt in your hands like Wagyu does. You get that sheen on your hands and it breaks down very well during the cooking process. It crackles like pork, which is something we see is really unique. That crackling, that texture gives it a really nice mouthfeel. The flavour is absolutely superb.